Welcome to Yahoo Finance Presents. This is Dan Howley, and we are speaking with Tony Fadell. He is the creator of the iPod and co-creator of the iPhone, as well as founder of Nest. And he's speaking to us today about his new book, Build. Tony, thank you so much for joining us. I guess I just want to jump in right away and ask, what made you want to go over kind of your history here and write a book like Build?
Sure. Well, Daniel, thank you for having me first on the show, and I hope we have a great conversation. I'm looking forward to it. Why Build? Why did I write it? It was something I've been thinking about, and people have been nudging me about for the last 14 to 15 years. Obviously, a lot of things have changed. Nest happened and all the other stuff, but it's always been on the back of my mind. Hey, Tony, why don't you write a book about all these experiences? But that wasn't the motivation, actually. I was always like, nah, it's not right. It's not right. It's not. About 2.5 years ago, I was sitting there, and I guess it was a melancholy moment, what have you. And I was thinking about my life and looking back and saying, wow, I am so lucky. I've been able to do all these things. Why am I here? And obviously there was a lot of hard work, but there were incredible people along the way that helped me get to this point in my life. I got to work together, but most importantly, mentors in my life, mentors who gave me advice and knowledge without any financial reward, and just saw something and said, hey, I think I can help you. You're trying really hard. Maybe you should think about it this way or that. And I was like, okay, I'm open. Let's talk about it. And through all those conversations with those mentors, I was able to, they gave me a lot of advice and things to help me see clearly the future of my career and what I do. And then I also thought about who those people were. And most of them had died. And I was like, wait a second, I'm not getting any younger, not going to get any more hair. And I was like, oh, I think I'm the mentor now. I'm doing it each day at Future Shape. We call ourselves Mentors with Money. And I said, I think it's time to give back. I'm a mentor, and I should do it in a format that's scalable. I can only do it so many days a week and talk to everyone. And so many people have so many questions, many of them the same questions. And so through those conversations, I was able to put together a whole list of the commonly asked questions, what's going on. And then I said, okay, now I understand the book. The book is an encyclopedia of mentorship. It is not, I didn't want an autobiography. I didn't want any of that stuff. I wanted to really help people at hopefully a scale that is, you could do it on the web, but a scale that's tangible, that is legacy, something that's not papered over like everything on the web today. You post something and 20 seconds later, somebody posts over it. That's the reason. And it was a crazy thing. I'm not a writer, I've never done a book before, not an author, but I didn't make an iPod before either, or I didn't make a lot of things I did. You got to just do, fail, learn, as I say. So hopefully this isn't going to be a failure.
Well, I want to ask you, speaking of the iPod, what was the process like for that, right? Like that was one of the seminal devices, right? It for all intents and purposes, yes, Apple had turned itself around a good degree prior to that, but that was really, I remember when it came out, and it was just, full disclosure, I had a mini disc player if you remember what those were,
Sure.
Prior to having an iPod. Guarantee that nobody else knows what that is, but the two of us. But it was a seminal product, and it really kind of changed the trajectory of not just the company, but the music industry. I guess, what was that like? That process of seeing that come to life in real time?
Well, look, we put that thing together. I put together the styrofoam prototype, or I should say mock-up, whatever it was, to show Steve, and that was over and all the background and electronics and all the kind of stuff in about 6 weeks from when I became a consultant, and then presented to Steve. And then it took about eight and a half months after that to actually realize it with a whole new team and everything. So it was running really, really fast. But I think the thing I have to look back on is that 10 years leading up to that, which was failure after failure after failure, whether it's General Magic or Philips, and the things that we talk about, all the failure in the book that we talk about, because that is so seminal and so important to actually being able to move at speed and at scale with the iPod. right? So it was taking all those lessons learned and all those people and all those networks of semiconductor vendors and LCDs and batteries and all that stuff to put it all together in that short period of time. And so, yes, it was a very, very quick development, but it was because myself and the background I had, as well as the other people we brought on the team who had similar backgrounds, we were able to run very quickly to make that happen. And we didn't know it was going to be success. We had no idea. Apple was a very, very different company back then. And a lot of people weren't ready to join up to Apple. I certainly wasn't. It took me weeks to figure out if I was going to actually join, because it wasn't the Apple we know it today.
When you look at you talk about failures, and you talk about things you've learned along the way. I guess when you went on to the iPhone, then, right? It's the iPhone, right? It's ubiquitous. It's everybody
Right.
has one in their pocket virtually.
Sure.
What were kind of the lessons that you had learned prior to that got you to that, and helping to put that together?
Well, when you have the iPod, and the iPod was a instant critical success, it wasn't a business success. It took 3 versions to get it right. We talk about that in the book, but it took three iterations to get that right. And things are going really, really well. At some quarters, we were 60%, 65% of Apple's revenue coming in the door. Like, we were substantial. And it was like, oh my God, this little team inside of Apple. And we were able to, kind of turn the ship, obviously with Steve and everybody pulling on the oars together. And so that was an amazing feeling. But then we had this, behind us, boom, boom, boom. Boom. And that was the cell phone market, right? The cell phone market is taking off now. It's starting to we're hearing about some data things coming out, data on a cell phone. We're like, boom. And we're like, okay. And our team, we used to call it this. We said, when is the celestial jukebox going to happen? All the music in the sky, in the cloud, that can wipe out iPod, because people don't want to have to transfer the songs. They just want it anywhere. And we're like, oh, okay. And so that moment hit, and we were like, oh, that's existential. Are we going to actually be able to cross and continue to compete when the mobile phones show up and maybe have similar features? Because they were starting to adopt MP3 playing, those kinds of things. They were nowhere near as elegant, but they were trying, because they didn't like the iPod as eating their lunch, and they needed more features to stay ahead of all the competition doing the same thing. And so it was a very big decision, to actually cannibalize the iPod to create the iPhone. And so there was a lot of discussions about that. But to tell you the truth, we were at from all different angles inside the company, inside our group, which was, we were doing the iPod plus phone, which was an iPod Classic with a phone built into it, a video iPod, which was a full screen iPod with a single touchscreen. We were working on that, going, okay, what's the future of the iPod? And on the Mac side, what's the future of the Mac? And they were doing a multi-touch Mac, which was this huge ping pong prototype sized multi-touch display with a projected Mac on it. And so all of those things had to come together to create what was the iPhone, because the iPod plus phone didn't work. You couldn't use a click wheel to make a call or insert text, right? It just wasn't going to happen. And the Crackberry at the time was the thing to use, right? So that had a hardware keyboard. So all of these things were all tearing at the iPod, going, where's the future of the iPod? And obviously the iPhone came out of that after significant revisions to the prototypes and our ideas, to then come out in 2007 and become the product and then the platform that we know it today.
Well, when you look at then when you went on to Nest, the backstory of that is fun. That you were just trying to really find a solution that did what Nest does,
right?
These kinds of thermostats and just didn't exist at that point in time. So I guess, when you started doing that, was that just something that you had thought, okay, I've done these other products, these other major devices, and now I want to go somewhere else and start up this huge firm. So how does that work?
Well, look, doing the iPod, doing the iPhone, doing the Nest thermostat, and then the smoke detector and all that other stuff was all about pain. It starts first with pain. And so, the iPod, I was working on it before the Apple, a different version. but because I was a DJ. So I was trying to solve the pain of all these CDs that I had to lug around. Vinyl wasn't the hip thing, those kinds of things then. It was CDs. And I was like, oh my God, I got to lug this around. And so that was solving that pain. iPhone obviously was solving the pain of taking your computer everywhere with you. Laptops are only so big. And so it's like, oh, I can get iPod functionality plus email plus internet, all the other things, right? When it came to Nest, it was really about the pain of comfort, an ugly device, an absolutely ugly device that no one loved, no one cared about. They usually hid, they didn't pay anything for, but it controlled 50% of your home energy bill. So this thing that no one loved, that hated, never worked well, you didn't even know anything about it. It was arcane, maybe like a 1980s VCR flashing 12 all the time. For you and I understand that, maybe a lot of the listeners don't know what that is, but it's solving that pain. Because for me, I really care about the environment. I've cared about the environment since I was a kid. And so I was like, I want to save energy, right? Because I don't want to be wasteful, but I also want to save money. And I want something that really tells me and helps me save and sets the comfort. So it was really born out of the pain of, going up to our Tahoe house and either selecting, I want it warm when I get there, but there was no way to remotely control it. I was jury rigging all kinds of stuff and couldn't make it work over years. Or I would always leave the thermostat on and then waste tons of energy and tons of money and hurt the planet. And so it was that pain to come together with a solution that was like, oh my God. My wife looked at me and goes, you're the iPod guy. Why a thermostat? That's not fun. And so we had a real effort to come together to tell the right story in the right way, to go, look, this is not about saving the planet. It's about saving you money. It's about making something cool, making something that costs 5 to 10 times more than you'd ever consider using buying a thermostat for, making it self-installable, making it lovable, making it loved. That was the magic of Nest, is we were able to pull in all the years, we had teams from iPod, iPhone, General Magic, Philips, pulled all those people, just like we did when we did the first iPhone or iPod, pulled all those people in to then say, we're gonna talk about these unloved products in the home, and we're gonna revolutionize them. And that was, people were just like, you're nuts, and or you're crazy. And then it turned out, I think we were kind of crazy smart. So it all happened, and we took a leap, and it was all because of pain. It started with pain, and we put a lot of love and emotion and rational thought into it, and we're able to come out with that product.
Well, just as a final, I want to ask you, what are some of the technologies you're looking at now?
Sure.
The metaverse is obviously a hot topic, or there's NFTs.
Right.
Is there anything about that kind of inspires you, or is it something that you're not as interested in?
Well, for us at Future Shape, so Future Shape is that we call ourselves mentors with money. We're not a venture capital firm. We're not just an angel investor, but we have a firm with multiple people in it, a team on 2 continents. And what we do is we look for disruptive technologies and disruptive marketplaces, and with disruptive go-to-markets that help the planet, help societies, and help individuals' health. That's what we care about the most. How do we do those things? And so what we look is for those disruptive technologies. So we're doing things like aqua technology, aquatech, ag tech, agriculture. We're doing medical technology and biotechnology. We are doing sensors and semiconductors and various things, new kinds of switches to change the trajectory of where we're going, to be that fundamental, layer of technology that can change everything above it. The incumbents don't understand it. I learned that from the iPod, General Magic iPod and iPhone, even Nest, was take technology that no one else is using that's really cutting edge and disrupt that whole marketplace and change the trajectory of these industries. And so that's what we look for in incredible entrepreneurs trying really hard things. And we go in and help them. And Build, the book, was born out of that, because we're like I said, having the same conversations with them over and over: how to hire a team, how to build yourself, how to build your company or product, how to think about marketing and telling stories. That's all in build. And it's just a daily thing of how we mentor. And so I wanted to make sure we got that out to the world so we could scale it, because we're only a certain set of, size people, and we can only touch, like I said, 200 companies. I want to touch 20,000, 200,000 entrepreneurs trying to do things because they've seen the magic of Nest or the magic of iPod, and they felt it. They want to do the same thing. So let's look behind the scenes. And so like I said, we bring that to them. And we want to do that with those technologies that are really going to help the planet, help the society, help societies, or help individuals in their health.
All right, Tony Fadell, author of the book, Build an Unorthodox Guide to Making Things Worth Making. Obviously also the creator of the iPod, co-creator of the iPhone, and founder of Nest. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Daniel, and have a great day. I really appreciate it.